Hey, welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Just as a reminder, this is not medical advice. Despite this guy being a doctor, he's not your doctor, damn it.
I guess not.
Okay, and I'm definitely not a doctor. This is not medical advice. It's just information for you to dig deep
Yeah.
and learn for yourself, and then talk to your doctor about
Yeah,
it.
talk to your doctor about this stuff, guys. It's really important, okay? I'm not here to tell you exactly what to do. I'm here to make you think. So think.
Think, guys. Enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our very first episode. Not like anybody cares. They're here for the topic. But it's our first episode of the Dr. Joe Show. And it's super important that we have more, first of all, community clinicians. I mean, they're heroes. These are medical heroes. Second of all, I work with Dr. Joe in the office, and not just you, but many of the clinicians there, like, they actually care about the patients. Like, this is why I don't like these large hospital systems, because they just churn out, numbers. And the clinic we work at, I mean, it's getting big, but it's never about like a numbers game. It's, you guys actually care. Like, my own mother-in-law goes to that clinic. A lot of my family members go to that clinic. You actually probably see some of my in-laws, like, as your patients. So it's important to get community clinicians that actually care, talking about things, breaking things down. And Dr. Joe's also like a chemist by background. You get an undergrad in chemistry, right? Or
It was biochemistry and molecular biophysics.
Wow. So we're lucky to be able to sit here, learn from you, go through literature about random things. Today we picked Coenzyme Q10. But before we get into that, just maybe like a 30-second intro of who you are, Dr. Joe.
I'm an internal medicine physician. I have been practicing internal medicine since 2016. I was a hospitalist for a lot of that time, and in the last year I've moved to outpatient medicine. When I was in college, I majored in biochemistry, like I said, and I did bench research for almost 3 years, and it was 3T3L1 fibroblasts that we were culturing into adipocytes, and we were studying adiponectin. And it took a long time for that paper to get published that I contributed to. I contributed a small amount to it, but I know a little bit about bench research.
I took that.
Don't ask me to make a Western for you. I'm gonna buy the pre-stack gels. I'm not gonna do that.
I remember taking that Biochem 460 class at U of A twice.
460. Yep.
I took it once as a freshman. Somehow I negotiated my way into taking it as a freshman.
Well, was that the lab one? There was 462 and 463. And
No, it was just the lecture one.
It was a lecture one?
Yeah, I forgot
Okay.
the name of the professors. I had no business being in it.
There was Dr. Baldwin, Dr. Ziegler, Dr. Tischler.
I think it was Tischler.
Yeah, Dr. Tischler. Yeah, because he's a part of the medical school too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had a lot of med school students in it, like freshman year med school students. They were in it, but I took it as a freshman undergrad. Like, I just finagled my way into it. I had to get a few people to like sign a waiver.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a D that first time, and the second time around I got a B. But I took it as a senior.
I think I got a B in biochem as well.
It's not easy, man.
It's not easy. Like, yeah, that one in biophysical chemistry, that one was even harder. That was like nebulous quantum physics stuff.
Yeah.
That was a guy named Dr. Brown who had. It sounded like he had an above top secret clearance because he would make these comments like, "Oh, I can't talk about that."
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Maybe, who knows? So we've got Coenzyme Q10. Like, why are you so passionate about this? I remember you brought this up to me in the hallways. See, a lot of the ideas we get, we brainstorm when we kind of like bump into each other in between patients in the hallway. And you said, "Hey, Coenzyme Q10, I got this guy's blood pressure down. No meds."
Yeah, so I guess you could say this started with a mentor of mine named Dr. Jens Langshan. And Dr. Langshan, Jens, like, if you're watching this, thank you. Anyway, I became interested in this when I was in residency in Albuquerque, like where I trained. And for a guy who was a hospital doctor, teaching, residents and students, he was talking about something that wasn't even available in the hospital, and he was passionate about it. And I just thought that was interesting. And it just so happened that his dad, Peter Langston, he wrote this article called "Introduction to Coenzyme Q10." And at
We
the
can get
time,
links to all this stuff, right?
yeah,
Or underneath the
all
video.
this stuff I found open source.
Okay.
So there's 3 papers I printed out. But anyway, Dr. Langston's article here, it's a wonderful intro to coenzyme Q10 and why it's important. I mean, the molecule was discovered almost 70 years ago, and it has more potential in preventing and healing people from cardiovascular disease than any drug on the market.
ASCVD, #1 killer.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into the discussion. I don't know where you want to start, but
Let's start with maybe how it was discovered,
how it was discovered. Well,
under what context?
Well, it was actually first discovered in 1957. It was isolated from beef heart mitochondria by a Dr. Frederick Crane, and it just kind of led through a series of questions, and they discovered this thing called ubiquinone. Okay, and then I think all the studies kind of just went from there, and Japan took a hold of it, and since about the 60s, Japan has actually been a major producer of CoQ10.
But our bodies also produce it, right?
Our bodies produce it through a series of pathways. Our bodies need to be adequately nourished with the proper B vitamins.
And then as you age, your production, your natural ability to produce.
Yeah, after the age of
Goes
20, it starts to plummet.
So is that why supplementation is important, or?
I would say it's important. In addition to reinforcing your body's ability to biosynthesize it naturally. So I think hitting it from all those angles makes the most sense. And
how do you do that? How do you get your body to
be nourished?
Just eat well?
Eat well. It's, CoQ10, I don't think it's a magic bullet. I don't think it's a silver bullet for all these things. However, I'll just give you some anecdotes, okay? And I don't just have a couple anecdotes. I have at least 20 or 30 now. Okay, I haven't been in the clinic that long, but again, I was a hospitalist, so I couldn't give people CoQ10 because I would know them for a few days to a few weeks, and then I say bye-bye forever. But now that I'm in the clinic, I can start throwing this at people and seeing what it does. And I got somebody over 90 years old. I dropped their systolic blood pressure by 34 points after 5 months of CoQ10. Okay, I haven't seen a single drug that does that. On average, I would estimate I get people's systolic down at least 10 points if they're going to respond to it. But yeah, one of these papers actually references that in just under half of people, you can see a significant drop in their systolic pressure.
Why don't we hear about this?
And you can even get them off of some of their medications, like if they're on lisinopril or amlodipine or something, and you put them on the CoQ10, they might come back hypotensive. And you don't stop the CoQ10, you stop one of their drugs.
Are you megadosing or just within range?
I mean, I think on average, these people are taking at least 100 milligrams a day. And I think you get 30 milligrams from a pound of beef or something. So that's one of the reasons why we supplement. It's just because you got to eat so much of these proteins that it's just better to supplement.
It's kind of weird how our bodies evolved. This is naturally produced in us, but it starts declining around 20.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that from an evolutionary standpoint, we were not intended to live as long as we do, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I mean, we could talk about a lot of things. I mean, there's telomeres. There's just the wear and tear on your body. There's inflammation. I don't consider CoQ10 to necessarily be the biggest player in inflammation. I mean, CoQ10 is a major player in energy metabolism, but it interfaces with so many things. So I think it is a part of inflammation. But you have to have all these other pieces there in order to deal with inflammation. You know, like seed oils, omega-6 fatty acids are horribly inflammatory. You should keep those out of your diet. And once you do your research and you realize what omega-6s are and where they're found, you're going to realize pretty quick what the food industry is doing. But are we meant to live that long? I think we are.
Yeah.
I think we're actually meant to live a little longer. I think we're meant to fast. I think we're meant to eat in a way consistent with the ancient Eastern traditions, particularly eating when the sun rises, eating when the sun is highest, and then just fasting most of the time after that.
So CoQ10, when do you think? And we're going to get into some of the chemistry and the unique properties of it, I guess.
Mhm.
From a layperson, I mean, I've done a little bit of research on it myself. This molecule is unique in the sense that, well, first of all, is it an enzyme or it's just a molecule?
Well, it's a coenzyme, but so it's a molecule. It's a quinone that's been modified with a series of different types of R groups. So there's actually a family of CoQ molecules. There's CoQ 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's probably more. Some of those other numbers besides 10, they've been studied in animal models. So there's some animals that make different versions of it.
Right.
But it's a molecule that augments your mitochondrial function. And if people know what your mitochondria are they're referred to as organelles. They're part of every cell in your body, I guess, except your red cells and I guess gametes. You know, sperm doesn't have mitochondria in it, but so mitochondria are the powerhouses, the energy-producing entities of our cells, and they're part of the reason why we're multicellular. Because if we didn't have mitochondria, we would not be able to have differentiated, anything. We would be unicellular organisms. So mitochondria has a big electrical gradient across its membrane. And the way you tap into that energy is you have the electron transport chain. So you have ATP synthase. If anybody remembers about chemistry, ATP synthase, it's this huge molecule, tons of proteins, but it's basically it's called the proton pump, I believe. And the gradient actually drives the machine, and it turns this big molecular wheel. And it phosphorylates adenosine diphosphate into adenosine triphosphate.
ATP to ATP.
Yeah, and ATP is tremendously unstable, but it's produced on site so that it goes into the cytoplasm of the cell, and then all your molecular processes rely on that. I mean, ATP it's like the energy currency of life,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
on the molecular level. So
Coenzyme Q10.
So Coenzyme Q10, it provides reductive potential, extra sites where that cytochrome system can move electrons through. So it's almost like a greaser for the electron transport chain. Because there's a reduced form and then there's an oxidized form. So there's ubiquinol and then there's ubiquinone. So -one refers to a double bonded O, a double
Fully
bonded
oxidized, right?
Yeah, and then the reduced form, the all. So all, that's like alcohol. So OH. So it's not as much about the H as much as it's about the two electrons in that bond. That's why we say oil rig. Oxidation is losing, reduction is gaining. So people will see like, oh, NADH, NADPH. Well, it's more acidic. No, it has a bond there. The power is in those two electrons. Anyway,
The hydrogen, right?
well, yeah, that's bonding to the hydrogen, and so that's why antioxidants are things that donate electrons. They're things that get quenched.
Antioxidants donate electrons.
Yes, yeah, they're like electron reservoirs that are there to protect different things, particularly free radicals, anything oxidative, anything that damages that needs to be quenched.
So free radicals. So antioxidants donate electrons. Free radicals are basically like a byproduct of a lot of
Inflammation.
inflammation.
So there's inflammation. There's all these different reasons that you get free radicals, radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So our bodies are supposed to be able to protect us and keep us in balance. That's why we live with the sun. That's why the sun is good for you. We don't look at the sun, obviously, but this idea that the sun is bad and you got to stay away from the sun and put all these chemicals on your body. You know, we know oxybenzone and avobenzone is a carcinogen. You know, and that's in a lot of sunscreen and sunblock. But I digress. So
these free radicals floating around, and you've got, besides being part of the electron transport chain in energy production, a lot of people are taking this for the free radical neutralization. And would you say it's equally as good as an antioxidant as it is for energy transport? I mean, is that why it works for lowering blood pressure?
So about 25% of your blood pressure is dictated by what your heart is doing and how your heart is doing. So the rest of it is all your vascular tone. It's all your arterial tone. So people that are taking medications, you know, you take a medication that targets the heart, you know, you're not really seeing the whole picture. That's why people end up on so many medications.
What do you mean by vascular tone?
So vascular tone, it's the ability of your vascular beds and the blood vessels to function properly. So your tone is like its ability to expand and contract appropriately. So
For your blood vessels.
yeah, your blood vessels, because your arteries are a lot thicker than your veins, right? Your arteries have a muscular layer in them, and they're a lot thicker because you're dealing with higher pressures. But if they can't
They're
relax,
pumping out, sending oxygen.
yeah, they're sending oxygenated blood to your whole body. But if you're deficient in CoQ10, your arteries are not going to be able to relax appropriately. Okay.
So they're just working so hard, they're never.
Well, they're deficient. You know, you could argue that most, if not all, illness is mitochondrial deficiency. You know, and using a single medication and expecting a big result is folly.
Is that endothelial cells?
Endothelial,
the
yeah.
artery?
Yeah, endothelial dysfunction is a major component of heart disease, and
Right.
and it will be associated with strokes, embolic strokes, and AFib,
And is that related to what you're talking about? The
yeah,
arteries?
it is.
The arteries are never. You said, let's break that down. The arteries are never able to relax.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they're supposed to be able to move blood through your body and keep the pressure at a level that's healthy for your body. So if your pressure is high all the time, you're going to get, so if your systolic pressure is high all the time, you're going to get an increased risk of stroke, because that's putting all this strain on your heart and on your system
So
and on
anything
your brain.
over like what, 135, 140?
Well, so pre-hypertension is considered like 135 over, I believe it's 85, and there's variabilities in what's too high and what's not too high.
Yeah.
You talk to a cardiologist, you talk to a nephrologist, you talk to an internist, and based on their experience and expert opinion, it varies, right? But stage 1 hypertension is 140 over 90. Everybody agrees on that. Stage 2 hypertension is 160 over 100. Everybody agrees on that. And then 180 over 105, or over 110, I believe. There's a 190 over 100. I mean, then you're getting into like really, really bad, severe hypertension.
So how,
You should never let it get there.
so how does Coenzyme Q10, I guess, allow the arteries to relax?
Well,
Systolic blood pressure. Maybe.
it's about having the energy to do your job. Your vascular system requires a lot of energy, and your vascular system is touching everything. So the way I understand it is, because CoQ10 lives in all of your cellular membranes, it's providing antioxidative potential. It's promoting regeneration of your other antioxidants like NADPH. NADPH is used in DNA repair, DNA synthesis. If you don't have NADPH, you're not going to be able to repair your DNA or make new DNA. So it really touches a lot of your body systems, but nutritional deficiency, B vitamin deficiency, fat-soluble vitamin deficiency, mineral deficiency, all this stuff leads to chronic illness. And you have chronic illness, you're not making CoQ10, and your mitochondria are not working very well, and your basically your blood vessels are not able to relax when they're supposed to relax because they don't have the energy to.
They don't have the energy to relax.
It's not having the right amount of electrons in the right place, and it's a global problem. That's a very oversimplified way of saying it.
Yeah.
Without getting too into that.
It's a hard concept to understand because when I think of relax, I think of like, I'm just going to sit down right now and not do anything.
Yeah, I'm going to sit
down. But
down.
our body does like the opposite, or at least our arteries do the opposite. When they're not able to get enough energy, they're working harder almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's other things that play into it, like there's cortisol. Cortisol is a pretty hot topic these days with different health coaches and folks like that. But then you start talking about sleep quality, stress.
It's all related.
Yeah, it's all interrelated, really. But a major reason why I think people are more CoQ10 deficient now than they were before is culturally, a lot of us don't eat organ meats. Because if you just eat organ meats, you're going to get so much more CoQ10. Liver.
All the stuff my mom used to tell me to do. Heart, chicken heart, cow heart. So that's where you get the CoQ10.
Yeah, that's an easy source to get it from if you're not going to bolster your body's biosynthesis of it. But
so when your body produces it naturally, in what organs primarily is it produced?
It's actually produced in, I believe, almost all of your tissues. It's just a matter of how much of it is there. Like your brain doesn't have as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your brain relies on your liver to make glucose for it, and and your brain can live off ketones. You know, so if you go into ketosis, then your brain can deal with that. But your heart, because your heart's pumping all the time, 24/7, the heart needs a lot of CoQ10 on board. That's why you see with heart disease, heart failure, endothelial dysfunction, that's all related to CoQ10 deficiency. And there have been a lot of studies done on just supplementing people with CoQ10, crossover studies and whatnot. It's just the CoQ10 is not patentable. So I wanted to correct myself. On the last segment, I said something that was inaccurate. So I believe I said that CoQ10 regenerates NADPH, right? Is that what I said? Yeah. So it's actually the other way around. Okay, so NADPH actually helps to reduce CoQ10. Okay, but that makes sense because NADPH is a much more broad antioxidant molecule.
Let's start with that. Well, can you give us like a brief crash course on NADPH?
Yeah, so NADPH, it's an intermediary molecule that's used in glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and its main purpose is to donate electrons to a series of processes that the cell needs to function. And so the most important thing I learned about NADPH is that you can't make it if you are consuming fructose all the time. And so this is one of the reasons why Dr. Tischler is such a good teacher, is that he got us to think, he made us think about this.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Is he still there?
I think so. I'm pretty sure he's still there. I mean, he's
University of Arizona.
U of A. Yeah, we're both U of A grads. So anyway, but basically, if you look at the metabolism of fructose and you look at the metabolism of glucose, first of all, your liver makes glucose, right? Mm-hmm. So if your liver makes glucose, do you think that we're supposed to be consuming a lot of exogenous glucose?
No need.
No need, right? And it seems like, now the way I put it, it was almost passive aggressive. It's like a rhetorical question. But you look at the food industry, we have carbs everywhere. We have processed foods everywhere. We have things that are full of omega-6 fatty acids, which is all the seed oils. And if you know how to read ingredients, that's your canola oil, your sunflower oil, your grapeseed, your rapeseed, corn oil, soybean oil. All of these things that make food taste so good are terrible for you.
Olive oil, what is it?
Olive oil. So olive oil has a lot of omega-3 fatty acids in it. Now, olive oil is tricky because you have to know how to take care of olive oil. Olive oil, depending on what country it came from, how it was produced, how it was extracted, you really want the first press. That's called the extra virgin olive oil, the first press. And depending on where the olive trees grew, you're going to have different amounts of antioxidants in there. So actually here in Yuma, there's a company called the Desert Olive Company, I believe. And actually their olive oil, biochemically, it's actually one of the most powerfully, nutritious olive oils that you can find. And arguably it might even be better than the Italian stuff. But Bragg's is another good brand. Okay.
But so omega-6s are bad for you.
Omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. I mean, your body can use a certain amount of them.
So like salmon, wild salmon, that's omega-3.
Yeah, wild salmon has a lot more omega-3s in it. But the problem with olive oil is that if you don't know what will inactivate the omega-3s in there, you're never going to get the health benefits of olive oil. If you buy olive oil, you should buy it in small bottles, and the moment you open that bottle, you should be thinking about, when am I going to finish this thing?
So what's omega-3's relationship in the body? We're going to oversimplify here, but omega-3's relationship in the body relative to coenzyme Q10 and NADP.
Well, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think the relationship is that you're emphasizing a healthy fat rather than emphasizing too much sugar. Omega-3s are important for a series of processes, and I haven't seen the relationship between omega-3s and CoQ10, but I think the point is, when you're not consuming oxidized or free radical type oils, because all these seed oils, all these processed oils, they're full of free radicals, and those free radicals are gobbling up and consuming your CoQ10 that you have sitting around in your body. And so when you're focusing on the healthier omegas, they're not causing any trouble for the CoQ10, and the CoQ10 can do what it was intended to do, which is grease your electron transition. So
grease the electron transition. That's the way you started out at the beginning,
so,
by creating that gradient. So it's almost like goes in beforehand by moving electrons forward.
It's almost like it provides an opportunity for electrons to be transported.
Let's talk a little bit about the quinone group. The biological importance of having that group in this.
Yeah, so the biological importance of the quinone group, that's where the magic happens. Okay, quinone is such an important molecule in our biochemistry.
Is that what's in like the tonic water and stuff?
Quinine. So it's similar. I can't think of I don't have a picture of the molecule, so I can compare it. But quinone, that's where the oxygen groups are. So that's where the ketone groups are, which is why you call it ubiquinone. And then when you get the hydrogen on there, then it's ubiquinol. And so and they're sitting on the outside of the membrane, and so they're sitting.
Lipid bilayer.
Yeah, and they're sitting right next to all of the cytochrome systems that are part of the mitochondria. And the point is, you have enough sitting around so that it just augments electron flow. Okay, so better connectivity.
The point
means
is,
better
it's
energy
sitting around in the semi-state.
It can sit in the semi-state, and what we mean by semi-state is there's actually two oxygens there, and sometimes only one of them is reduced.
Reduced meaning it has a H.
meaning it has the covalent bond to the H, meaning it has electrons to donate. So sometimes it's in the intermediate. Yeah, but yeah, the reason why I wanted to bring up the NADPH again is because NADPH, you get NADPH from the breakdown of glucose. You do not get it from the breakdown of fructose. And this is really important, okay? Because
Let's talk about that.
If I drink, let's just say I'm going to drink a drink that has a ton of fructose in it, and maybe you guys can think about some examples of that. I'm not going to...
The ones that will never sponsor this show.
Yeah, the ones that really don't want us to have this conversation.
Yeah.
But let's say you drink a bunch of that. So there's a transporter in your system, and it's called GLUT4. Fructose goes through that transporter. It goes straight through GLUT4, and it goes right into your bloodstream, and it goes right to your liver, and it gets turned into fat. That's the bird's eye view of what happens to fructose.
Right through your liver.
Yeah, it gets phosphorylated very quickly, goes into your liver, and then it just gets turned into fat.
Do you use the energy though? Like you can, right?
Well, eventually, if you have enough reductive potential sitting around in your body. So this is why like these athletes.
This is why some people drink and eat junk food and still don't lose weight or still don't gain weight.
Yeah, so those people are actually nourished enough. So they have enough reductive potential in their body. They have all of the they have enough of the trace minerals. And they're using energy in a way that they're utilizing the soda. That's why cardio workouts, you don't really lose weight if you do cardio workouts, because cardio relies on having fat complexed with your muscle. And it's like the intense workouts that rip your muscle, and then you chase it with protein so that you utilize energy to rebuild your muscle, and then that eats up some of your fat. But you have to do it in a very specific way.
What?
So cardio is good for, cardiovascular health. It's good for preventing strokes and heart attacks long term. But you got to do a certain amount of it regularly to get that benefit.
So to losing the weight, it's better to do weightlifting.
It's better to do weightlifting. It's better to as we say, get ripped, not do 1,000 curls and tear your muscle and have a permanent deformation. I'm saying the micro tears that you get from short, intense workouts. And then you chase it with protein right after the workout, because if you don't chase it with protein, you're going to lose weight, but then you're just going to lose muscle mass, and so you have to have enough protein when you're trying to lose weight.
On this topic, not today, but maybe a teaser for the next one.
Yeah,
I kind of wanted to talk about metformin and some of its off-label uses, because this is where I see it.
Metformin's interesting, right? So metformin is strange, right? Because
you can take metformin and still have fructose, but it'll prevent gluconeogenesis.
Right.
We'll do that teaser for next time.
Yeah, so we learned that metformin doesn't cause hypoglycemia clinically, but actually it does. And so you got to be careful with that. But that is a good topic. Metformin's mechanism of action is kind of weird, but
maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that next time. But the point I'm getting at is, if you look at the way fructose gets broken down in your body, it actually consumes more resources from your body, and then you store the fat, and you get to a point where you can't do anything with the fat because you just become so malnourished. The way glucose gets metabolized, you get pyruvate. You don't really get pyruvate from fructose.
You don't.
That's the biggest thing, because pyruvate...
Is fructose made naturally in the body or not?
I don't believe it is. It's not. It's not. So fructose is one of the monosaccharides. Glucose is another monosaccharide, and then galactose is another monosaccharide. Those are the three main monosaccharides that are relevant to us. There is trehalose, I believe, but that has to do with insects. We don't really care about that. But I think you can eat trehalose. But maltose is a disaccharide. That's two glucoses. Sucrose is glucose connected to fructose, and then lactose is galactose with glucose.
So the point is,
disaccharide.
The way your body processes glucose is very different going down to pyruvate than fructose, which goes straight to fat.
Yeah, so fructose goes straight to fat. If you don't make pyruvate, you can't really make the precursors to get to NADPH. And NADPH is required for DNA repair. The other thing that you can't do with fructose, you can't make ribose out of fructose. And if anybody knows what ribose is, or the pentose phosphate pathway, you gotta start with glucose, because some of your glucose that's in your body, when your body needs to repair the DNA, what is DNA? Phosphate sugar base. Okay, I remember my teacher, Dr. Hansen, in high school. He had this song like phosphate sugar base, and then he had some other lyrics. But
He had bars.
yeah, so that's why glucose is pivotal to our metabolism, and why fructose is very deleterious to it.
I see.
That's why you should
And
really.
it has to do with NADPH is involved in this.
Yeah,
Pathway.
it has to do with having enough NADPH, and NADPH is a major regenerator of CoQ10 according to this paper. So this is the other paper that I'm referencing.
So
and you can find this paper.
We'll put the links underneath.
Yeah,
NADPH
I'll send these to you later.
itself, an antioxidant.
Yeah.
It is.
It has antioxidative properties.
Because of the ability to donate the H.
Again, it has to do with that covalent bond on the proton. It's all so it's not about the hydrogen. It's about the electrons connected to that hydrogen.
Yeah.
It's about the covalent, because a covalent bond is typically about 2 electrons, and it's that 1 electron that does.
NADPH. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And let's see right here. Yeah, so this is vitamin E. So vitamin E is actually related to CoQ10. So vitamin E works with CoQ10 to remove free radicals from the body. You know, the point I'm making is with these papers about all the complex biochemistry of CoQ10. It's less about all those details. It's more about the potential for CoQ10 to heal our bodies. So we were talking about acetyl-CoA. So in this particular paper, you can see that acetyl-CoA and tyrosine and a series of other things feeds into the production of coenzyme Q10. And
Naturally.
yeah, this is just part of your body's biosynthesis of it. And the HMG-CoA reductase right here is a good discussion, right? So
Yeah.
what do we know about HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors? Those are called statins, right?
Those are called statins.
Right. And if anybody's looked at the cholesterol guidelines over the last 10, 20 plus years, we have flip-flopped. LDL is relevant, LDL is not relevant. LDL is relevant, LDL is not relevant. And I think most people agree it's like, yeah, LDL, whatever. VLDL matters, okay? VLDL is related to your seed oils, it's related to your omega-6, it's related to inflammation.
VLDL.
Yeah, very low density lipoprotein, that's what VLDL is. But statins also decrease your body's ability to make CoQ10. So this is one of the biggest points of
Terrible side effect.
it's a terrible side effect. That's why side effects of statins are not just limited to myalgias and some liver damage, which is uncommon, right?
Myalgia is what? Fatigue?
Yeah, myalgias are like muscle pains. People will take a statin and they start to get this pain in their muscles. And I've never taken a statin, so I don't know exactly what it feels like. But it's like muscle aches. Statins also.
Some doctors on YouTube are recommending very low dose statins for like longevity.
Now that's interesting. Now we're talking about very small doses of specific things, and that's going to be in a context to many other things in a low dose as well. So then you're talking about multi-drug or multi-micronutrient regimens, and it's starting to resemble Chinese medicine.
But you're referring to statins in the traditional setting of
Yeah.
clinics and
So statins, unfortunately, sometimes you need a statin, right? I mean, if somebody has a heart attack or a stroke, there is studies that show benefit when those people go on a statin. But when you have a younger person and you look at their cholesterol and you look at some of the risk factors and then you say, oh, let's put you on a statin. I kind of question that. I kind of question the validity of that, because statins, they're also associated with weight gain, They're associated with hypertension,
Really?
and they're associated with developing type 2 diabetes. Now, what did we just say? We just said that CoQ10 can be a treatment for hypertension. And that treatment is on the basis of nutritional deficiency. And we know that HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors shut down CoQ10 synthesis.
Which are like most statins.
All statins. All statins, yeah, they shut them down. And so, of course, it's going to cause hypertension. So if you're on a statin, you have to be on CoQ10 to mitigate those side effects. I mean, I guess you don't have to. You can deal with the side effects, and then you'll end up on more other drugs later. But
I see.
But see, this is why I'm not talking about yay or nay on statins. I'm saying if you get a statin, just go on CoQ10. It's never going to hurt you.
So you get, this is not medical advice, so I'll put that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But you in the clinic, you see a new patient who comes to you with already taking statins.
Yeah.
The first thing that's going through your head, I'm guessing, is I need to get him on Coenzyme Q10.
Is he on CoQ10 or not? And if I don't see it on the med list, I sometimes ask, and people sometimes say, "Oh yeah, I'm on that. I just didn't."
Do you care which one they buy, or does it matter?
I don't care which one they buy. That's a good question. I mean, so then we're talking about the quality of different manufacturers, and of that I'm not an expert.
Okay.
You know, maybe
Just get on a good quality one.
Yeah. Just get on one that has, at least 100 milligrams of CoQ10,
Okay.
whether it's ubiquinone or ubiquinol.
A well-trusted brand.
So I guess you could say you should go for ubiquinol and not ubiquinone if you're going to pick the best one.
Yeah.
But the point is, if you're not even making NADPH in your body, it doesn't matter which one you start on because you're never going to regenerate it. So to get the full function of CoQ10, you have to be optimizing other aspects of your health. That's why I said it's not a magic bullet. You're not gonna make all these things magically better just by just taking CoQ10 because it's one piece of the puzzle that is wellness.
May I ask the relationship? I guess. Sorry to put you on the spot too. If you don't know, it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we don't know everything. I mean, we ask questions.
What
here.
did Voltaire say? It's medicine is or physicians are people who know very little. People
who know
prescribing medicines they know very little about to treat conditions they know even less about to people they know nothing about.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Relationship between, in your opinion, between coenzyme Q10 and alpha lipoic acid.
Yeah. Now, alpha lipoic acid is made by our mitochondria, so I'm pretty
naturally.
Yeah, it is. But we also benefit from supplementation.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a relationship. If it's the mitochondria, there's got to be a relationship.
Because at one point you told me ALA and some other stuff is a good weight loss.
Yeah, so there's pyrroloquinoline quinone. See, that's another quinone. That's another quinone.
I'm trying to find
the pattern. The pattern is the ability to, with the right amount of affinity, provide a place for electrons to slide through the cytochrome system to regenerate ATP. That's what it's all about. That's what the whole thing is about.
You want antioxidants.
Yeah, so you want antioxidants, and you want things that are going to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.
Can you ever have too many antioxidants? Or in our Western diet, that's virtually impossible.
Yeah, show me somebody with too many antioxidants.
I'm just wondering, like, theoretically.
I don't even know what that looks like.
No.
Well, I mean, we could take something like NAC. Okay, what is NAC? It's N-acetylcysteine. So NAC is FDA approved for Tylenol overdose. You inject it into people who overdose on Tylenol, and the reason why that works is because when people overdose on Tylenol, they create this thing called NAPQI. NAPQI is the acronym for the molecule, and it's a horribly free radical, very reactive molecule, and it's produced on site with the cytochrome P450 system in the liver. And when people overdose, the cytochrome P450 deals with the Tylenol and makes a ton of NAPQI, and it destroys the liver. And then the antidote is NAC. Okay,
so what is the cytochrome versus the cytoplasm? Cytochrome.
So cytochrome P450, those are enzymes. So
okay.
so that refers to a group, a whole family and subfamilies of enzymes that break down drugs and that.
So they're mostly in the liver.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all over your body, but your liver has probably the most of them. But so the point I'm getting at is NAC is a free radical scavenger. Now there's an interesting thing with NAC. If they're on the supplements that you can buy, because you can buy NAC over the counter. There's all these different studies done with NAC about wellness. It's a mucolytic. And it's thought to improve longevity. There's a warning on the label, and it says increased risk for cystine stones. Okay, because N-acetylcysteine it has cystine in it, and there's a type of kidney stone called cystine stones. Okay, so it's a theoretical.
It's a subcategory of kidney stone.
Yeah, it's a subcategory of kidney stones. Most common kidney stone is oxalate. Okay, I think about 80% or so. Calcium oxalate, but cystine stones make up a smaller percentage, but it's a theoretical risk. Have I seen somebody with cystine stones by taking super mega doses of NAC? I've never seen it, but it's a theoretical risk. Now vitamin C is related to all of this as well, because you've heard that too much vitamin C can cause kidney stones, right? Maybe some of you have heard that. So the reason why too much vitamin C can cause kidney stones is because when vitamin C exerts its antioxidant potential, it turns into glycolate. Okay. Now glycolate, if you're not careful and you have too much glycolate around, it'll get turned into oxalate. Okay, but your body can regenerate vitamin C from glycolate by using glutathione. So if you have enough antioxidant potential in your body by having enough glutathione, vitamin C supplementation will be less likely to give you oxalate.
So that's the first time I remember glutathione coming up in this conversation.
Yeah, we haven't brought up glutathione because glutathione it has thiol groups on it. And what a thiol group is, so we talked about ubiquinol donating electrons with an oxygen and a covalent bond to hydrogen in the ball and stick model. Thiol groups is a sulfur with an H and a covalent bond. So those things also contribute electrons. Those are also antioxidants.
Are those stronger bonds? Like harder to break? SH versus
No, I don't think so. Oxygen, I believe oxygen is a smaller molecule than sulfur, right?
So
Sulfur,
biologically similar.
yeah, they're very biologically similar in that those atoms in the right context contribute electrons
Okay.
to
With relatively the
antioxidant.
same amount of energy.
Yeah, it's just that glutathione, I think of so ATP is your energy currency. Glutathione is your antioxidant currency in the body because you make it. You make it. So those are the two things you make.
Can you supplement that glutathione?
You can.
Yeah.
You can actually take glutathione. I think you can take it sublingual. You put it under your tongue, it goes into your body.
So that's the
Oxidant.
Glutathione is antioxidant.
Yeah, it's another antioxidant. Yeah.
And you were saying that it's. What were you just saying?
So it like ubiquinol, it can donate electrons, but it does so differently. Glutathione and N-acetylcysteine, they're more free radical scavengers. They're more there to deal with more distributed exogenous.
So they're on that.
Yeah, they're on the prowl for oxidative damaging free
And
radicals.
Coenzyme Q10, it just does it, but it's on the side.
Yeah,
job.
yeah, but coenzyme Q10 is deeply fat soluble. So these molecules do similar things in that they take care of free radicals. But CoQ10 is fat soluble, and it gets embedded in the membrane. NAC doesn't do that. Glutathione doesn't.
Where are they? Are they in the?
Well, they're stored in cells. They're actually stored
inside.
Yeah. They're stored in your body, and they get released as needed, and they react with things. But they're not nearly as fat soluble as CoQ10, because CoQ10 has, again, the 10 refers to the number of repeats of those R groups.
That carbon chain, right?
Yeah. That carbon chain that has some double bonds in it and stuff. So that's a big juxtaposition. Two totally different uses, but they have similar ideologies of donating electrons.
One is in the bilayer primarily. The other is in the cytoplasm.
Yeah. And if you're constantly stressing your CoQ10 and you don't have any CoQ10 sitting around and your mitochondria don't work, and then if you don't have any reductive potential in the rest of your body, then your body is getting hit with oxidative damage all the time. So this is why eating the healthiest diet you can is an investment in all these processes.
Yes. Which is very difficult.
It's difficult, right? Because you have all these different groups.
We have this study. Check it out. We're doing, for those that don't know, I do clinical research. That's how I know it's Dr. Joe. In the office where we work, I do the clinical research stuff. He's on the private practice. And both of our boss is in charge of both things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
We have this sponsor from Europe. And they have the data managers from India. Okay, so they're living in India. These data managers are viewing all our data. They're in India, so they see our patient data live, and they query us all the time. When we have a 300-pound patient, and it says convert to kilograms, we do. They think, hey, there's no way this person can weigh this much. We're in India,
Right.
So they query us every day about this stuff.
Really? They're that?
Yes.
That's their weight? Really?
They also queried us about someone's blood pressure when the diastolic was 84.
They thought that was too high?
Yeah. Because they're in India.
Right.
So our Western diet, and by the way, now the Western diet is expanding to Africa. It's going to hit India if it hasn't already. Maybe India's smart enough to not allow it. Their religious beliefs don't allow them fully.
India has been the smarter of a lot of countries these days.
But they don't eat the organs, though, like you said.
They do eat organs.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of traditional Indian cuisine.
Okay.
There's a lot of organ meat in there.
Okay.
I think there's
They
variation.
just don't eat beef.
Yeah, they don't eat beef. Well,
So
yeah.
you're saying that one way
Hindus
to
don't eat beef. Yeah.
One way to get it is through a pound of beef, but they're not going to get it that way. They're getting their Coenzyme Q10 through the organ.
We were talking about biosynthesis, right?
Yeah.
If you can biosynthesize the CoQ10, and if you have enough antioxidants in your body through just the natural way that these different cultures have learned to eat over thousands of years, you don't need organ meats.
Yeah.
So and then this discussion could move into vegan and paleo and keto and where those are falling into context, but maybe that exceeds the scope of this conversation.
I don't think anything exceeds the scope of this conversation. It's just getting people. See, you're making biology practical, I think.
Yeah.
By talking these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean we study biochemistry.
Well, you studied it better than me.
Well, it's not all this theoretical stuff. It's stuff that applies, and the way you apply biochemistry to your life.
Why don't they teach it that way, though? They don't teach it that way.
Well, Dr. Tischler did.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe I just didn't appreciate it back then.
Well, it's, and also in college, I feel like it's harder to pay attention. I mean, I think if I could sit in on one of their lectures, I feel like I would get so much more out of it.
Yeah, I would do it so different.
Having done all the stuff I've done, I mean, I just feel like I would get more out of it. But
me too. Can't go back though.
I mean,
we can only go forward. That's what we're doing.
Well, I guess I could just go back and just walk in and sit down and see if they kick me out.
We're doing our conference at U of A, the same place where I got 2.3 GPA. I'm going back. We're bringing 800 people with us. We're going forward.
That's exciting. So tell me about this
Conference.
Save Our Sites conference.
Save Our Sites.
We're all a bunch of clinical researchers. You know what's interesting about the people that work in clinical research on my end? Like, it's very unusual for any of them to actually even get interested in the science.
Mhm.
You don't need to. To be a successful research site owner, you don't need to know the science. You know, the drug companies write the protocol for you. They have plenty of scientists.
Mhm.
All you gotta do is follow the protocol. So you have to know a few things like clinical assessments.
Right.
If it's arthritis, you have to know pain scales and X-rays, KL grades, and all that.
And know how to exclude people.
If it's diabetes, you got to know A1Cs, GFRs, but you don't need to know how all these things work together.
Yeah.
That's bonus.
Yeah.
This is the bonus.
Yeah, this is the bonus. Yeah, this is the extra. I don't think CoQ10 ever came up in med school.
Okay.
By the way, guess how many days of nutrition teaching I had in medical school. Just take a guess. How many days did I learn about nutrition
In med school,
in all of med school?
like 2 or 3.
Half a day. Half a day, and it was the most pathetic lecture. I love U of A, okay, but
They're all the same.
that nutritional lecture was absolutely dismal. I mean, the paradigm of the way nutrition is being pitched at patients and the way it's being talked about, they're talking about macro and micronutrients, but they're missing the trace minerals. They're missing CoQ10. They're missing why omega-6s are bad. Like, they're missing all that stuff. Well, not all nutritionists are made the same either. It's like we could talk about the American Diabetes Association, right? Because the ADA.
Well, next month let's do metformin.
Yeah. Now metformin, I'm gonna have to read up on that one a little
As
more.
a user myself,
I prescribed it. I have a clinical experience with it, but the biochemistry, I'm gonna have to review that a little bit.
I use it low dose, so 500 XR a day for anti-aging that I've read about, and for helping as a buffer to keep from gaining weight.
Okay.
And I've noticed that has worked, and I haven't had any no GI side effects, none of that stuff.
Good. Well, you're also taking the extended release.
Yes,
The extended release has way less of the side effects. But yeah, I guess what I was saying about the ADA is, do you know where the ADA gets a lot of money from?
Food, big food.
Nestle.
Yes.
Okay, so the same ADA who is telling your type 2 diabetics, oh, make sure you're getting enough carbs so that you get the right amount of insulin, and make sure you're balancing it all out. Well, they don't care what kind of carbs you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So they're expecting the type 2 diabetic to reach for whatever carbs they can. And it actually makes this snowball effect.
Yeah.
So then you're eating more carbs, you get more insulin, you're ravenous, you eat more, you gain more weight.
You're going to need more statins.
And so the weight goes up and the insulin use goes up. And if doctors are not cued into this,
yeah.
if they're not counseling the patient on what's happening to them every time they inject insulin, these patients are only going to do worse.
But isn't it because it's easier to give someone a Band-Aid versus supervising them to make sure they don't hurt themselves? Like,
Of course it is. I mean, and then you could talk. And so you were talking about big medical systems and the big corporations and the bureaucracy, right?
yeah.
So the big healthcare systems across the board. Show me one that doesn't do this. You know, you have these big boards, and they shave off. You know, they boast, oh, it's only a margin of 2 to 3% or whatever it is for the healthcare system. Well, that's millions. That's tens of millions of dollars.
It's a rounding error.
that they're shaving off
yeah.
for doing almost nothing.
Yeah.
These people are doing almost nothing. In fact, they're doing things to hurt the industry, because then they tell the doctors, hey, you need to see more patients. And then they're telling the patients, hey, you get less time with your doctor.
Yeah.
So what time do you have to do anything? You know, in our clinic, we get 20 minutes, and that's luxurious.
No, I try to talk to you guys. The MA's rush us like, hey, he's gotta go.
Yeah. But you know, we have. I mean, I think we get a lot of time to spend with our patients, and then we're flexible with our schedule so that we have a little bit of, you know, like wiggle room.
I wanted to leave a teaser for next. So first of all, did we cover everything you wanted about Coenzyme Q10?
I think we covered, I think, as much as we could for the sake of this discussion, I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about just on the biochemistry side, but I think the message I want to send to people is that coenzyme Q10 is safe. As long as it's manufactured appropriately and you're getting a product that's actually what it says it is, CoQ10 is safe, and you should talk to your doctor about getting on it. If you're on blood pressure medications and you want to take CoQ10, make sure you tell your doctor that you're doing this. Because if you take CoQ10 and you're on 2, 3, 4 blood pressure medications, your pressure might get bottomed out.
So let's use me as an example. Okay, I'm in my family through my dad's side, we have overexpression of renin.
Mm-hmm.
My dad told me this. He got on lisinopril very young, like in his 30s, and I just got on it, and I just turned 40. So I'm on 5 milligram a day, doing well. Like my pre-lisinopril, I was always over 140, over like 85. Now I'm in the 130s, sometimes even 120s.
Now, are you on CoQ10?
Only recently because of you.
Okay. Yeah, so give CoQ10 a chance, and let's see where your systolic goes and your diastolic.
But like even for, because mine wasn't due to weight, it was due to renin.
It's due to like actually an actual genetic.
Do you think
component.
It's the same coenzyme Q10 in that case?
Genes can be turned off and on. Okay. Epigenetics. See, we didn't even talk. See. I just said epigenetics, and I hope this doesn't get us canceled. Okay?
It shouldn't,
because epigenetics is a huge topic. What is that?
But like my overexpression, like
your overexpression of renin,
that's genetic, right? So what I've noticed, like in the past, before lisinopril, if I'm drinking coffee, my blood pressure would spike. You know, over 145 easily. If I'm stressed, like would get higher. With lisinopril, same stressors. I'm doing the same stuff. Coffee, I'm actually drinking more coffee. Never get higher than 138, 139. It's rare. Rare. So that's why I'm afraid to stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't stop your ACE inhibitor right now. I wouldn't mess with that right now. I mean, low dose ACE inhibitor. There's a lot of benefits to low dose ACE inhibitor.
I get the cough every now and then.
You do?
Lisinopril cough. I get the cough every now and then.
Well, then maybe you should go on an ARB.
Losartan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're having an ACE induced cough,
once in a while, it's nothing big. It's just like occasionally gets annoying, like a few times a week.
Okay. Well, that should be fine. I mean,
but like CoQ10 would still theoretically work for this. You're saying
it's only going to contribute positive resources to a probably deficient engine system. That's what it's going to do. I mean, it's just going to give more helping hands for electrons to move freely in the context of where they're supposed to go. And the context I'm talking about is the ATP synthase cytochrome system.
Wow.
And
there's so much to get.
It can't hurt.
These episodes could go 5 hours.
We could just ramble on, right? I mean, but the point I was making, folks, is if you're on more than one blood pressure medication, even one, and you start on CoQ10 and you load your body up with it. Let's say you get fully loaded in 2 months, or maybe it'll take 5 months to get fully loaded. Your pressure might come down. Your pressure might come down so low that you're going to feel terrible. But if that happens, consider that this is now a side effect of the blood pressure medication that you're already on.
Yeah.
And then you need to make a decision with your doctor about which one of those things to stop.
I'll take that advice for myself then.
Yeah. So, it's because medications cause side effects. CoQ10 does not cause side effects. Your body makes it.
Right.
Period.
Is that a general rule of thumb? Anything your body makes doesn't...
That's not a general rule of thumb.
No.
Because amino acids, you can overdo it with amino acids, okay? True. Like,
overdo it with testosterone too.
So yeah, like too much testosterone. Like for example, women. So women's hormones are very interesting. Like women will actually lose their libido if their testosterone goes down. Women need testosterone too.
Right.
But if you drive their testosterone up too high, that'll also make their libido go away.
Right.
So women like to live at a very specific amount of testosterone.
It's like a Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, it's like 200, 300 standard units. I think it's nanograms per mil or whatever.
That's another topic I wanted
Hormones.
to get into.
Oh boy.
Testosterone, hypogonadism for men.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge problem.
So, you know, I'm not.
We
trying,
have so much potential.
I'm
on
not
this
trying to
channel.
I'm not trying to name drop here, but there are some people who have already done a lot of research on this stuff, and there are books I could refer people to. But I think that would be a really great topic.
Which one would you rather do? What is it? February and March.
In March?
Metformin or
Metformin or hormones? Well, I mean, we could do either one.
You choose, man. Dr. Joe show.
I mean, well, let's decide. Let's decide. I'm not sure.
I'm down for both.
We'll talk about it off air.
Equally interested in both.
And then we could talk about epigenetics too, about the reason why life's not fair. You know, life's not fair. Epigenetics.
Life's not fair, but it doesn't mean we don't have the tools.
But it's not futile either.
Right.
You know, it's not futile to try and make yourself healthy. Because the point of biochemistry is to learn more about how to keep yourself healthy, and the way you do that is by what you're putting in your body. That's the take-home message here. Know what you're putting in your body, and if you're apathetic about it, then this show isn't for you.
Yeah.
I mean that's just the short of it. Like if you're the kind of person who's kind of checked out, and you go to your doctor and you just want to pill for whatever thing, if that's all you can do, then that's all you can do. But if you can do more, and challenge yourself, that'll be good for you and your family and your friends and everybody around you.
I remember this saying I heard. I think it was from Tim Ferriss or someone. There's no such thing as a biological free lunch. There's a consequence to everything.
Yeah, there's a consequence to everything.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain.
You know, people think that eating carbs gives them more energy, but it does the opposite. You eat too many carbs, you're hungry all the time, and you have no energy. And then
Happens to me every time I carb load. Man, carb crash instantly.
Yeah.
Like within 45 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole episode on the art of eating.
Yeah.
The art of eating and how digestion
We
plays
have so much
into it.
potential.
And the reason why
Oh my
colonoscopies are so dangerous. And so colonoscopies
But why they're so profitable. Hey,
are
Dr.
dangerous.
Hazen. Dr. Hazen owns her own colonoscopy.
And actually, yeah, Dr. Hazen would be great to have on that
We
discussion.
can have guests, like zoom them in. Like we can have my dad right now zoomed in on the epigenetics talk. We can have Dr. Hazen zoomed in.
That would be
We
great.
can have Dr. McCullough zoomed in
That would be
on the
cool.
cardio talk.
Oh, Dr.
We'll do-
McCullough could. Oh boy, that would be cool if we just
We
talked
got a lot
about
of plans for the
hemodynamics
show.
and vitamins and antioxidants. That would be cool.
So Coenzyme Q10, you're satisfied with this piece of content or anything?
Yeah,
else?
for now.
Forever hold your peace.
Forever hold my peace.
We can't come back to this molecule now for at least a year.
for at least a year.
No pressure.
I guess we could revisit it later, but I mean, I just, if you don't think CoQ10 is good, then do some research on it. If you're not going to do the research, then figure out how to get it into your diet and how to get your body to make it, and that's going to require that you read about it. So
there you go.
I guess that's
Good way to end
I guess
it.
I'm comfortable with that.
Stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to figure out what it's going to be on. Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for watching our first episode.
Well, I guess this is our first episode, so
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Share is the most important thing, okay? Share, because we're a new channel.
and if you disagree with anything we said, or if you think something we said needs to be tweaked, we're happy to address that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we slightly misunderstand things because we're human.
Trust the science changes, dude. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.